Welcome to the Health Fix Podcast, where health junkies get their weekly fix of tips, tools, and techniques to have limitless energy, sharp minds, and fit physiques for life. Hey, health junkies. On this episode of the Health Fix Podcast, I'm interviewing Sheri Dimaggio. If you've listened to some of my previous podcasts, you might have noticed that I had a request for listeners to submit stories of bouncing back from chronic illness and thriving and just breaking aging barriers. And Sheri submitted a request. So Sheri is a mom of 3. She's a wife, and she's a health and fitness coach who, after many years of coaching, noticed that she was starting to decline in her fitness capabilities and wasn't feeling too great. And of course, she was training for a fitness competition. And for those of you who know what those things are, those are tough. And there's a lot of nutrient stuff going on in terms of cutting calories. And after that, it set her on a 10-year plus decline in her health that rounded out with feeling worse, with getting bit by a tick 4 days before getting COVID, and then some mold exposure. Yikes. Lots of things happening there. And you know what? Unfortunately, her story isn't uncommon this day and age, where something happens and it seems that there's a cascade of things that just keep happening, and the struggle to get healthy just seems to be so far away. But Sheri's got a great message, and we talk about aging, we talk about bouncing back, and boy, it's just a feel-good podcast. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. It's a beginning of some of my series where I'm going to be interviewing my listeners. So if you're hearing this and you've got a bounce back story, you are aging well, you've got some amazing things that are going on in your life just based on your habits, routines, and behaviors, we want to know about it. So let's introduce you to Sheri Dimaggio. Sheri, welcome to the Health Fix Podcast.
I'm excited to talk about this.
It's a fun subject, because I think a lot of people really don't realize how much they've been programmed by society and their family and what they've seen in life. And so they just automatically think oh my God, I'm going to get old and it's going to be this particular way. Did you feel like that before you started to realize that maybe things were different?
Yeah, I just remember thinking, even whenever I was working out, I kind of gave myself the age 80, thinking, okay, well, I'll just make it to 80. And as long as I can still change my light bulb then I'm good to go. But now now that I'm 52, it's 80. What was I thinking? No, I'm going for 100, whatever. And so, I just believe that, with taking care of yourself, taking care of your mind, that there's just way more potential for us as humans. And that's what I'm going for.
I like you. I started to realize the older I got in terms of numbers, and I call them numbers at this point. I'm 45, and I looked at 45, when I was in my 20s, I was like, ooh, that's old. Now that I'm 45, I'm like, wait a minute. I still feel like I am not a day over 18 in my mind. I wake up, and I'm like, let's do this. And then I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, yeah, okay, got a couple of wrinkles, look a little different, but really my 18-year-old self is still live and well inside. And sounds like you're feeling the same way.
Exactly. And I think that so much of it comes from what we've been taught about, even playing. Who told us to stop playing? We just do. If you're not on intramurals, in college or whatever, kids just start stopping playing. And I'm like, why? Why is that a thing? I don't understand that. And so for me, it's like you're saying, you feel so much younger on the inside. And so, yeah, I may not be as fast as I used to be or as agile, but I can still play. I can still ball, I can still play, and, and still engage in activities that society kind of has told us, no, you're too old for that. Probably need to start ratcheting back a little bit, start preserving some of that energy, kind of take it back and, make sure you don't fall, kind of thing. And so, no, I'm not about that at all.
It is funny that we do tend to get all those fears, all that fear stuck in our head of oh, what if you fall? What if you hurt yourself? What if this? Oh, you're going to be out of work for this amount of time. I used to be terrified that something would happen to my hands, because that was my job with acupuncture. And I was like, God, how many things did I miss out on with that fear? Do you feel like you got fear mongered quite a bit as a younger version of you?
I kind of have always lived against the grain. So, probably it might have been, tried to be forced upon me or whatever, but knowing me, I probably dismissed it and kind of didn't check up on that. So no, probably haven't. I don't with fear. I've bungee jumped like 100 feet head first into a lake that I didn't even know what was below me. Went to Japan. My first flight was to Hawaii when I was 16 by myself. Like I said, went to Japan when I was 19 by myself. So I mean, it was just like back in those days, that was kind of unheard of, and just so no, there were other people that had fear around all those things for me. But as far as me, no, I don't think I allowed that. But I do know what you're saying, and I do agree that that does happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. You and I are similar. I moved to Mexico for a year when I was 19 because I was like, well, why not? Let's do this. I mean, granted, I also tried to convince my parents that I was going and I would never party. I was going there just to learn Spanish, which they, of course, promptly rolled their eyes like, yeah, right. But a lot of my friends are like, I can't believe you moved there and you went by yourself. Most of my friends that I associate with are like, I wouldn't even travel by myself, and I do it nowadays all the time. So I see you and I definitely roll against the grain. Now, like, what are your parents like? Are they still alive? Give us the scoop on your parents.
Yeah, so my parents are still alive. My dad, we call him the biotic man. He just had a complete total shoulder replacement. He has two 12-inch rods down his spine. He's had both knees replaced, both had the rotator cuff shoulder surgery before the replacement. So he has lived a very hard working life, and so he has remained active. He's not in the form of as far as sports or leisure or whatever, but he is someone that has been riddled with ulcerative colitis, arthritis, all the things. And I didn't know what I know now to be able to help him, because I believe that he would have been able to live a different life had I known how to help him earlier, because he's been on prednisone for so many years. And so, but he has maintained a level of activity. He will not stay put, and he knows that if he sits down, he's not getting back up. So he has, through the pain and all the adversities of the ailments that he's had, and he's just made a very strong man. 75. And then my mom was a school teacher forever and took gazillion kids on a gazillion field trips and was extremely active in that capacity, but not someone who pursued activity outside of that, or exercise programs or any kind of sport or anything like that. That was not her forte at all. I just kind of came along and was very active as a child and into all the sports, and then dance. And then I had a cheer gym. And so it's one of those things that has just been a part of who I am as a person. That's just something that I've never laid down. The activity, 9 months pregnant, it didn't matter. I was running across the Dallas Cowboys football field, one of the cheer competitions. I mean, literally about ready to pop, and I'm running across the field. So it's just never been, something for hard for me to pursue an active lifestyle. But yeah, so my parents just are active and just in a different way.
I think the older generation, they, yes, there's some folks that played sports, but for the majority, I feel like it wasn't as kind of popular as our age range. It seemed like,
right.
Sports did take off a lot more, and gymnastics and, like you're saying, cheer and things of that nature really seemed to take off and continue longer in our generation compared to our parents. Now,
yes,
you mentioned cheer, like what all sports do you play? Have you played? Give us the scoop in terms of what you're into now and what you used to do.
Okay, so I played softball growing up, and of course, we didn't have all the year-round sports that they do now, and so I would play a softball, and I would do the whole, twirling and gymnastics and all that kind of stuff. And then when I went to school, I played volleyball, basketball, and ran track, and then did that my freshman year of high school, and then I ended up joining the drill team, and I tried to do both, and they wouldn't allow that. And then they also didn't have a softball team at the time. And that's a whole other story, because my mom is the one that ended up blowing the whistle on Title IX, and it was a whole thing. And my mom ended up getting the girls a softball program at our current high school. So that was pretty big deal for her to be able to get that. And it was very difficult to get it done, but she managed. And now they have, it's just a great program, but they didn't have softball. So I played boys baseball instead.
Wow.
So, but then I finished out with the drill team. And then when I went to college, I played the intramural softball and joined the little dance team briefly. That was really not my thing at that point. And then later got into weightlifting and personal training. After that was after having my cheer gym and power tumbling gym, and then got wrangled into competing for doing a figure competition. And so I ended up doing that, and then ended up going through like a 11, 12-year long chronic illness, but I still, even through all that, maintained as active as I could. But now I'm feeling amazing and so much better. And I'm back to my weight training and running and all the things. And my goal is to make it to be able to compete in the Masters track and field.
Ooh, tell us more about that. I'm familiar with Masters. And for those of you guys who are listening, probably most people understand that Masters is this older folks that are competing in sports, but like, tell us what would you do in track and field? What would be your thing?
Probably I can still triple jump. So I would still probably like to do triple jump. And then any kind of sprinting, I may try a quarter, but probably the 100 meters, I would not do 200 meters. I didn't like it then. And I still wouldn't do that one. 200 is just brutal. And so, yeah, I probably just want to do the 100-meter dash, just a sprint. That's what I really want to do, is get back to sprinting. There's just something about sprinting that I love. And then I would maybe do the quarter or 800, something like that.
Nice. Now this is fun. This is fun stuff to talk about, because a lot of people will say at a certain age, like, well, I guess I should probably stop running and start walking. Sprinting isn't even like, like I would challenge everyone on here to think about when's the last time you sprinted. Just to think about it. I actually had a weird experience once in Vegas. I was running and doing some of my running early in the morning because I found it absolutely fascinating on the strip to see who's out at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Have you done this? Have you done this?
No, I haven't.
Oh my goodness. I encourage anybody who runs to do this, because it is the most fascinating thing ever. Lot of great people watching at any time in Vegas, but especially at 5 a.m. And I had one guy on the corner say to me, "Who are you running from?" And I said, I'm like, no one. I'm just running. He's like, "Oh, carry on." He's like, "What's wrong with you?"
Are you?
I know, like, what is going on with you? But running is something that, I have a lot of patients that come to me, and no joke, right? They say to me, like, they're like, "Yeah, my doc told me I should just hang it up because now I've got, plantar fasciitis, and that's an old person's thing. And so it's a bugger, and, that's never going to get better." Or they'll come to me and be like, "Yeah, doc said I should quit because my knees are hurting," or "Doc said I should quit because," you can name the reasons. So the fact that you're like, how can I sprint and how can I run 100 meters and this and that? I mean, huge.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And the sprinting, like, every time we're driving somewhere and there's like a big hill, I mean, my husband just looks at me, he goes, "I already know you want me to pull over so you can try to run this hill." I mean, like, I love running hills. I mean, it is just something that I seek out to do. I love to run up and down hills. That's just something that I love to do. Plus it engages, all the muscle groups. So it's that's fun. But that's how I look at everything. I mean, everything is an activity, because I believe that movement is medicine. And it's even more important as we get older that we, continue to move our bodies.
absolutely. I mean, I say it over and over again, and I don't even care anymore that I sound like a broken record, because I'm like, circulation. How do you get circulation? You move. That's
Move.
what you do.
Yes.
That's how it works. So what's the wildest place you've had your husband pull over so you could run a hill? Give us the scoop. I want to hear.
Well, he actually hasn't. He just knows that that's what I want to. Because I say it every time we encounter a hill, so he knows it's that's what it's coming out of my mouth. So no, he actually does it because it would take me quite a while to probably some of the ones that I pick out. They're pretty long. So that.
Oh man, that's funny. Now let's talk about this for a little bit, because I mean, obviously sprinting, as we get older, there are things we have to think about, right? There are things we have to do to prep ourselves to do these things. And, I'm not going to be one to be like, "Oh yeah, everybody tomorrow go out and sprint," because there's a lot involved in that. What kind of maintenance do you do for your body? What's your maintenance routine for your joints and body as a whole? I think folks would love to hear that.
Yeah. So first, I believe that you have to consider your nutrition. I mean, if you're going through a drive-through, constantly, or you're eating a ton of processed foods all the time, you're not going to be in position to just, take off and run daily or sprint hills or whatever. Hydration is key. And then I also am careful about the amount of stretching I do, because I have found for myself personally, if I stretch too much before I go run, then it kind of sets me up potentially for a little bit of an issue. So I do a light stretching, but then more focused stretch after the run.
Okay. Good to know. Because I mean, there's so much debate on like stretch, don't stretch, mobility,
I think it's kind of everyone's different. And so, I mean, like for me, I found like when I would stretch like a lot before, my lower back would end up getting tweaked during running. And so because I would be stretched out, and then all of a sudden I'd be contracting it, and so it just wasn't that, for me, didn't work, so. And then, like I said, I just view everything as an activity during the day, because we know that the sitting is the new smoking. Yeah. And so the more that we can just get up and move during our day, just our daily activity, regardless if you sit at a desk for your job or whatever, or you're driving a lot, if you're just mindful that you need to get up and move, just for a little bit, so that you can prep your body into a next phase of activity. And so that's just kind of how I look at everything during the day. It's just, but I'm also now, after being through chronic illness, part of the reason why I entered into that is because I did not heed rest very well at all. Never thought, just never valued rest. I just thought there was never a reason for it. If I felt good, why would I rest? That's such a waste of time. Well, you get humbled in that real quick. Well, actually, it wasn't real quick. It took a while, but I got humbled there. And I now very value rest for sure.
Oh, it is incredible. And that is the one thing that, as a younger person, we can pull all-nighters. We can, we bounce back a lot faster. But it is something that a lot of us will still try to push the limits on and learn the hard way over time. And that segments me into Sheri had mentioned that she had been dealing with some health stuff for a while. I would love for you to talk about what happened, Sheri, because a lot of people, they'll look at someone like you and I, and they'll be like, oh, well, you've been fit your whole life, and like, you didn't have any struggles. So, it's so much easier for you guys. And I'm like, wait a minute. You don't judge the book until you know the story. So,
right. Yeah.
Give us your story, because I'd love folks to hear this.
So I had, like I said, I was doing personal training, and then I ended up doing figure competitions, and probably about the third competition, and everything was, I thought I was feeling amazing. Moods were great. It was just, everything just seemed good. I was 39 years old. So go ahead and put that as a note for people. I started bodybuilding / figure competitions at age 39. And I, at the time, had, I still have 3 children, but I had 3 younger children at the time. And so that's just to make a mental note that you're never too old to do something new, and that there are no excuses if you're a mom of 3 children. So there's that, and a wife. So, but it was like the third competition, and my recovery time started being really, really super long. I was having tons of joint pain, started noticing a difference in my hair. It was just a whole thing. And so it just, long story short, ended up, I had breast implants at the time, and that was the second set, because they tell you to replace them after year 10. So I did. And we knew instantly that something was different. I ran fever for the first 2 weeks. We should have taken them out. We considered it. But we opted not to. Kept them for 7 years. Ended up, the only way I can describe it is that it just felt like raw meat being raked over hot coals. It's the only thing I can tell you. I wanted to reach into my chest and pull them out and just chunk them as far as I could. Mm-hmm. So ended up getting them out, and lost over half my hair. I mean, could not work out hardly at all. It was just, I was literally like crawling to the shower, crawling back to the bed. Went to a holistic after exhausting all the ologists you can imagine over years' time and thousands of dollars worth of blood work. They would just tell me nothing, nothing. They would tell me I'm fine. And I'm literally, like I said, crawling to and from the bathroom. And so went to a holistic chiropractor. He looked at me, told me out of 30 years of practice, I was one of two of the worst patients he had ever seen. And that my entire body systems were completely shutting down. And I already knew that. I was so happy to hear it. I mean, not that news, but that someone could validate what I was feeling. And so he was able to supplement me and get me to where I could function again. But then years still went by. I had the breast implants removed, got a little bit better, and then just kept on until COVID hit. And COVID sent me into, I don't even know what. It was all the 8 years prior to COVID. I would take all 8 years over the last 2.5 years, or that 2.5 years after COVID, because it went into my nervous system and just went into a huge spiral. And I mean, to the point where I missed my son's football games. I couldn't be under fluorescent lighting. I couldn't drive. I couldn't be around people. I couldn't lift a 5-pound weight. Had to sleep on 5 or 6 pillows. So all that to say that I have experienced just about everything imaginable on a pain perspective, and so many different symptoms and things that have come and gone. And then, because I got bit by a tick 4 days before I got COVID. So it was potentially a Lyme/COVID, experience. So that I do not recommend that. Definitely 10/10, do not recommend that. So, but anyway, so all of that. And then it was just, so I had to go back to the drawing board and figure out like, what are we going to do here, to be able to continue living, because my quality at that point was just not good. It was so horrific. The anxiety, I'd never experienced anything like it in my life. The mood swings, it was just horrific. And so I just came across lots of different modalities as far as reframing my brain and just, putting things in perspective. I was still alive. I was going to be fine. Just really a lot of talking therapy to myself, and just went through a whole different way of healing. And it just was a long road back, but I'm back and feeling amazing. Like I said, I'm 52, and I look forward to being able to have lots and lots and lots of years of vibrant longevity, not just, living, but thriving while I'm here, and being able to be a service of people and help people and encourage the abundant life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, one of the things you mentioned, and this is probably the hardest thing for me to really, really get across to folks, is the mindset part of things. Yes. And really rewiring the mind. Tell us more.
Yes. Oh, gosh. It's hard work. I mean, it's something that you really have to commit to, and it's an ongoing process. But it is, it's just super important. And I'm a Christian. And so I spent a lot of time in prayer, and there was just a lot of revelation during that time. And so whenever I just feel like now I have so much more awareness about, just the way I perceive. I was staying in fight or flight. Everything that would come across me was a threat. And now I'm just able to rewire that and not live in a state of fear or fight or flight. And I just try to maintain that, rest and digest stage, and not go into, or even the freeze, freeze and fawn. I just try to stay grounded and know the truth, and that I'm, fine, and that not everything is, because I had mold exposure. I had, all the mold toxicity and all these other things. That was the other part of that. After the Lyme and the COVID, then shortly, probably 4 weeks after that, I was exposed to mold in a hotel in Florida. That was just horrific. So, there's a whole gamut of things. I probably should literally write a book because there's so much to the story that people just don't realize. But the main thing is, whenever I think about the brain rewiring, the word that comes back to me all the time is hope, is that you can never lose hope. And as long as you have hope, you're going to be able to continue walking and taking that, that next step, and just, one step and one step at a time. So yeah, I always want to encourage people to never lose hope, because they're going to get better. It may take a while. It may not be an overnight thing, can be, but it may, chances are it's not. You may have to walk through some things, but who you become through that process is so amazing. And character that you develop during all of that is amazing. And not that I want to go through any of that ever again. I can say that it was worth it, because so many of the things that were revealed to me in the process and who I've become in the process, it's worth it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely not something that medical practitioners are going to tell you about right off the bat and go, hey, a lot of this, is of getting better and getting and aging well even is mindset and thinking
Yes.
through things. And really, kind of like you said, you had to go through and realize you were become, I'm not gonna put words in your mouth. I'm gonna say it like I feel my process has been, and I want to hear what yours is. But me, it's like I've had to become a different person to be able to put aside a lot of the crap that comes at me.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, being type A perfectionist, yeah, you learn that, that's not where it's at really. Growing up, it's just, you almost wear those things as like a badge of honor, because you can just get so much done. You can accomplish so much. And you do it with excellence. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do things with excellence, but when it comes, and it takes a toll on your health, then you've got to reevaluate things. And I've just put it all the time that we live in this freaking society that we have created in our own minds, and as the rat race. And we have allowed the chronic illness that we're experiencing, just because of what we consider successful lives. And the successful lives that everybody's chasing is literally killing us, especially in America. We just have everything backwards as far as I'm concerned. And, and success is a relative term. I mean, and we relate it so much to, financial success, and really taking, or getting 8 hours of sleep. That's what I call success. That, I'm thinking you're pretty successful if you can eat well and exercise and, be able to sleep 8 hours. Yeah. Heck yeah. That's success. So yeah, we have it all wrong, and we have created some, this craziness and, the chaos that we witness every single day. I mean, you just sit and watch people, and you just watch. I mean, it's just so sad, because the level of unwellness that is just walking among us all the time is just really disheartening and sad. And, I'm hoping that, through my next venture, that I'm able to really encourage people, just solid nutrition and your mindset, and just being able to make sure they understand that movement is medicine, and being hyper aware of their thought life, because, you and I have talked about before about hair loss. And like I mentioned, I lost half my hair, just, jumped or came across this amazing solution. And a lot of it has to do with the thought life. People are going to be blown away whenever, they come to us for the protocol. And, some of it is going to be centered around, the words that they speak and the thoughts that they think. And they'll think that that's all hokey pokey, but I promise you, it makes a difference. And people don't understand how viable that is. I mean, it really makes a difference.
Oh, incredibly. It's one of those things that in my mind, I used to be like, really? I don't know. That's kind of strange and hokey, but you are what you say, you are what you think. It's incredible. So tell us a little bit about your journey from where you were, kind of what you're going to integrate into your new venture, which of course, folks, we'll get into here in a minute. But with this thought process, that was going on in your head over and over again, what was on repeat in your head? What were you saying to yourself? What was on repeat? Was it you? And you don't have to go into the straight detail, because I know that once we get past it, we don't like to say those things out loud anymore. So if you even just want to talk around it, that works too.
Well, I mean, there were times that I literally felt like the spirit of death on my back. And I mean, it's just, you really feel like you're in a pit and you're never coming out. Like you just a way out. And you have a choice to make. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying that I just blew through this whole, 11, 12-year journey with just roses and rainbows, and everything was just perfect. And, I navigated everything beautifully because I did it. But I would always come back to the truth. And, of course, I, read the Bible, and I would just recite scripture, and, just trust the Jesus as my healer, and would always come back to that and be able to stand. Romans 8:28 was my verse that I would really stand on, among others. But yeah, I could see myself getting into a negative mindset because you just really don't. Some days you just think, it's never going to end. It's never going to end. It is never going to freaking end. I might as well just, this is it. This is my lot in life. This is not budging. It's just, between the pain and discomfort and suffering, it was just like you could not see the light. But then you'd just get that little bit of hope and you would just grind it out another day. And now being on the other side of it and just being able to manage my emotions so much differently than I ever have before, because we're not taught about that. We're not taught about nervous system regulation. We're not taught about any of that. So, we see so many things going on in our lives or around us, with people, and we just look at it for the action that they're, saying or doing or whatever, and just viewing it like, whoa, but not even understanding. They have no idea. They have no idea about nervous system regulation. And then, of course, we could go down a huge rabbit trail of nutrient deficiencies and food sensitivities. And so all these people have all these things. They don't even know how to reach out to someone and ask questions unless they're in kind of like our wheelhouse. But all these people are experiencing all these horrific things. And there's little things like we're talking about, just the mindset work alone, and nervous system regulation, and, just having some emotional control, and having some tools in their toolkit, how to, navigate with some of those things. So yeah, we could talk for hours on this.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. And for those of you who are listening, this is probably one of the first conversations that Sheri and I are going to have over the course of time, because it's something that's very important, that a message that I want to get out. And I know it's very important to you as well, Sheri, to get out to folks, so that folks really do you guys really do understand that what you think, what you say about yourself, what is on repeat in your head is going to keep coming back unless you change it.
Yeah. And I think we get so self-critical because we live in this, social media age, and there's so much comparison. And I think that we just don't give ourselves enough credit for, what we've been through and how we've gone through it. And then we just become hypercritical of everything. Our appearance and, where we're at in our life as far as, our socioeconomic status, whatever. And all that stuff just matters. And so until you can get it in perspective and just be so thankful, and like we're just with the season of gratitude, and just be so grateful for where we are, you can get yourself in a bind that you won't experience any kind of fruitfulness or joy or all that, because you're too busy being so critical of yourself. And that just will get you in a very dark place.
And have your hair falling out, and have you feeling stressed, and have you aging faster, which of course, all the things that we want to work on reversing it, because unfortunately the media doesn't help. Social media now doesn't help. I try to put positive lights out, but I know that it's hard. So tell us a little bit about what you got in the works, Sheri. Give us a little hint as to what's going on, so folks can kind of get a little scoop as to what you're up to and how perhaps you may be able to help them.
Yeah. So it's we are now forming a new LLC called Made Well, and it is a holistic lifestyle health and wellness company. And we are focusing on thinning hair and hair loss solutions. And we have just stumbled across some amazing results for hair loss. Amazing. And we're so thankful. And we are in the finishing stages of getting everything solidified and all of that. So we're hoping to be up and running mid-January. That's probably maybe a little hopeful for that, but I would say by February for sure. And so we're very excited about that because I know hair loss was probably one of the most devastating. I mean, even after having to have my breast implants removed, because I wasn't blessed with any breast tissue at all. So when I had mine removed, it was literally I had mine removed. It wasn't like I had mine removed and I still had a little bit. No, had mine removed. So even that, as devastating as that is for a female, honestly, it was the hair loss that would just keep me, I mean, like wake me up at night and just be so, so hard and such a, uh, I mean, for your self confidence, I mean, just plummeted. I mean, I lost so much self confidence, which led to being isolated, which we know being isolated is just a really bad thing for us. We know that we were meant for community. And so that was just, it's been bad, you know, and I feel like I've been in a cave for a long time, but I've now, I mean, literally, you know, when people see our results and they see our testimonial pictures, my husband and I both, it will be quite impressive. And if I can help someone get their hair back, that will, you know, be able to boost their confidence and be able to, you know, continue, you know, what they are, their purpose, then that will just be so amazing for me.
Absolutely. I mean, hair loss is one of the biggest things that I have struggled with in terms of being able to give solutions in my office. We had some good peptides there for a minute. FDA took those. So now we're kind of in this state of what's next for folks. And I know I've had different hair specialists on earlier, but what I'm interested in and what I think is part of the missing picture on my end with being able to give folks the mindset and the total package, you know, as a doc,
Yeah.
trying to find the quick fix, as a doc and working on other health issues, this is where, you know, having someone who can coach folks through the
Yeah.
process and having been through it.
Yes, and I do think that really does make a difference, because I have so much empathy for people who have had hair loss because it, like I said, it is just super devastating. I mean, I think it may be, you know, harder on females. I'm not sure, but I know my husband it was pretty devastating for him. I mean, he was super close to just shaving his head because he was just like, I can't look in the mirror and just see this loss like this. I think I'm just going to shave it. And we went to Bosley and we got the consultation, and the front alone was going to be $14,000. And then by the time they did the crown, it was going to be a total of $30,000. And so we just started dabbling in stuff and modalities and the process and protocols and started making, you know, some of our own solutions. And we just found something that has worked, and it's quite incredible. And we are so thankful because we really are hopeful that we can help people. And because it makes a huge difference to have your hair.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, emotionally, mentally, I mean, it's so difficult. And for women, you know, kind of to bring this whole conversation full circle, you know, we were talking about aging, we were talking about aging well, movement, circulation, so important when it comes to your hair and how
Yes.
much stress blocks our circulation too. And so mindset,
Yes.
so incredible. And of course, hair loss is something that starts to happen as we get older or as we get more stressed and go through certain nutrient deficiencies and things of that nature. So Sheri, for folks that are listening and they're like, hey, okay, you know, we had talked, you're in East Texas, but yet if someone's virtually, they want to get in touch with you, what's a good way for them to at least reach out to you while you're working on getting your official site set up in Texas?
Yeah. So right now they can just reach out to me via Facebook on Sheri Brown Dimaggio, and that's Dimaggio. And then the Madewell Holistic Health page will be, I'm hoping to have it this week. So I don't know when this will air, but it'll be soon. But either you're more than welcome to reach out via Messenger, on Facebook. That would be a great way to just kind of touch base with me I could get you on the list and then be able to forward the information. But the one thing I want to say about the hair loss stuff is that I was diagnosed with androgen alopecia 7 or 8 years ago. And so I'm the kind of person that I just rebuked the diagnosis right then and there in the Jesus name and said, no, I'm not, I'm not accepting that. And I would challenge anyone, anytime you have any type of diagnosis, don't own it. Just because the doctor said that you have something, and I'm not saying that you don't, but you don't have to run with it. You can sit with it and you can process it, and then you can determine how you're going to navigate the way the way you choose to navigate that is going to determine that your path. And I just believe that the mindset work that we're talking about, so many things can be circumvented just by refusing to go with what the practicing doctors are practicing. That's what they're doing. They're practicing medicine.
Mhm.
And I respect doctors, and I think they have a place in this world. And I really do think they've done amazing things, but they're practicing medicine and they don't know everything. And so we don't have to take everything that they say as gospel truth and run with it and own it and wear it with 7 t-shirts on, like you've got whatever. I just believe that you can navigate that a different way, and it can change the outcome of the actual diagnosis.
I wholeheartedly agree. I do think that we get caught up pretty heavy in our thought process of, oh, well, I just need a diagnosis and then I can fix it. Well, what if that diagnosis is just a term for the insurance companies to be able to be billed?
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
it's the sad reality, folks. I mean, that's how it is. That's why we have diagnoses. So we can literally give your insurance company something to pay us for. Sounds
Right.
dumb, but that's how it works. And I'm not discrediting, any diagnoses. And yes, like Sheri said, I am a doctor. I practice medicine. I'm practicing every day.
Right.
And so it is something that we need to think about and not own things and create our whole life around these things. I can't stress that enough. And it's been one of the things, Sheri, and I think, it's a hard thing when we start to we want to help people, and we're trying to find our niche and the folks we want to help in particular, but we also have that dance around, like, okay, we have folks with these issues, but we don't want anybody to hold on to that total title. Makes sense.
Right. Yeah. No labels.
Yeah. No labels. That's why. Yeah, exactly. And same thing with aging. No labels. You're a number.
No.
I just told my dad, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just what I was saying. It's just a number. It's literally, that's all it is. It's a number.
What do people say? The many times around the sun. So
Yeah.
we've made that many times around the sun. That's, cool. Some people have a couple more times than other folks. All right, great. We're all human. Let's do this thing. So, Sheri, we know where to find you. We know how to get in touch with you. We've got your comments about the diagnosis part of things. If anyone's listening right now and they're like, Sheri, I don't know. I kind of got a diagnosis. I'm not really sure where to turn. My hair is falling out. What would be the first thing you could recommend them to do right now that they could do at home, easy enough to get started, to getting themselves back on track?
I'm going to, not knowing the, everything about this person, but just knowing that our society and the way that we live, most people live, I would start with probably recognizing their stress level and their sleeping habits. I would definitely recommend rest and stress management. And then definitely we're going to go straight into just identifying any kind of nutritional deficiencies and food sensitivities, anything that could be causing inflammation, that kind of thing. And of course, I've got to ask about their activity level. Are you sedentary? Are you active? I mean, there's just a whole gamut of things, that I can't express enough about, living an active, healthy, aging, pro-aging life.
Absolutely. Well said. Well, Sheri, thanks for coming on and chatting with me. I'm sure once you get up and running, we'll have more to get chatting about. Once again, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much. And I definitely look forward to another conversation.
Hey, health junkies, Dr. Jannine Krause here. I am looking for some help from you all. And what I'm looking for is some inspiration, some inspirational stories that I can share of men and women defying aging and defying it by crossing things off their bucket list that maybe they thought they could never do. Maybe coming back from an injury, starting something new, like skiing at 40 years old. Whatever it may be, I want to know about these stories and I want to interview folks. Maybe it's you, maybe it's someone you know. Doesn't matter. I want to help inspire folks out there that you don't have to follow social aging norms. You can defy stuff. You can get better as you get older. You can make so much progress at any age. You can build muscle at any age. You can have a stronger heart at any age, and you can crush all those things you want to do on your bucket list. Just because you're older doesn't mean you have to give up on yourself and your dreams. And this is something that I want to share and inspire folks with. And so if you have a story or someone you know, email us at info@Doctor spelled out, so DoctorJKRAUSEND.com. Let's spread the word about how amazing life can be as you get older and all the cool things that you can do. All right, health junkies, I'm counting on you. Let's get some emails in and let's get some awesome stories on the podcast. Hey, fellow health junkie, thanks for listening to the Health Fix podcast. If you enjoyed tuning in, please help support me to get the word out about the podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review, and just get that word out. Thanks again for listening.